So here's a look at the measurement chart I'll be using for today. This measurement sheet goes through the torso, front torso, back torso, arm, your leg measurements, your head, your girth, and then common sizes. So this measurement sheet was designed for use in plays, but it is still very accurate. So this is what we're going to be following. And then at the bottom, it also has like allergies and stuff you might be able to use to make sure that you don't use any bad detergents or anything. So this is what we're going to use, and you can either take a screenshot right now and use that, or I'll make a PDF. I'll scan a copy and make a PDF that you can print out at home. So the best way to take measurements is to have the person who is being measured, having the person doing the measuring, and then having someone to write down the measurements. This way you can quickly go through the measurements with the least inconvenience to the person being measured. However, today we only have 2 people, so I will be writing down the measurements as I take them.
Hi everybody, this is my mom, and I'm going to be using her as a model for taking measurements. So if you get out your sheet, then I'm just going to go from top to bottom and show you how to measure each measurement. And I won't be saying the measurement aloud, but I am going to be writing it down. Start at 1 because a lot of the times when I pick up my tape measure, I start measuring from the end, which is 60, and you don't want to do that because otherwise your neck is going to be like 65 inches, and that's not true. Okay, so for the neck, you measure it at the base of the neck, and then take that down. And then you go to the bust or the chest, and for the bust chest, you take 2 measurements. You take them just standing, and then you ask them to inhale and to make their chest big so that your shirt isn't too tight. So you take it, make sure it's parallel to the ground. So take the measurement, write it down, and then deep breath in. And then you take that next measurement. And then you measure the under bust, which is right here, so your rib cage. And if you don't know where the waist is on your model or actor or whatever you're using this chart for, you ask them to bend side to side, and then you look at where the body pivots. So if you want to put your arms up and bend side to side. Okay, so that'd be right about here. So, and then you have your high hip and your full hip. So high hip is usually 4 inches, and then your full hip is usually 9 inches. So high hip meaning 4 inches from your waist, and full hip being 9 inches from your waist. That includes your gluteus maximus, and so it's generally a bit bigger than what you might think. Okay, so that's all of the circumferences of the torso. So now we're going to move to the front torso. So we have a crossed shoulder, which is right here. And then you see MM on the chart, which is muscle to muscle. So that's from the bicep across the chest to the next bicep. And then base of the neck to bust point. So that's base of your neck, so where your bust is. And then it goes to waist, and then to the floor. So for the floor, you ask the person to hold the tape at the top of their neck, and you get the measurement to the floor. So base of the neck, bust point. Could you hold that, please? Thank you. The shoulder is, we want the high point shoulder, which is right next to the neck. So we go to the neck, so you measure at the bust line and at the waistline. The next measurement is shoulder tip to bust, and then under bust, and then to center front waist. So just take it from the shoulder tip, which is the outside of the shoulder. If they're wearing a t-shirt or a normal shirt, you can measure where the seam is. It's not always perfect, so if the shirt's a little low, you have to counter that, but this shirt's pretty accurate. So we're just going to measure at this where the sleeve intersects the front of the shirt. So the bust, under bust, and then to center. Okay, and now we're doing back measurements, so if you'd like to turn around, please. Okay. So now we're doing very similar to the front measurements. Make sure your model isn't slouching, because otherwise they're going to have that measurement included in their clothing. So shoulder to shoulder. And then muscle to muscle, same thing. So tricep to tricep. So back seam to seam, it's not this measurement, that's incorrect. It's, lift your arms up please. It's the side seam all the way to the other side seam. That's the correct measurement. And then nape to waist to floor, so that's very similar to the front. So you measure at the top of the neck to waist, and ask them to hold it. Yes, please. Thank you. Oh, you're almost there. There you go. Perfect. Thank you. And then shoulder to waist. Just right here, high point shoulder to waist. And shoulder tip to center back waist. And now we're going to measure the arm. So if you want to face the camera again. So now the shoulder seam, so that's the neck to the tip of the shoulder. Underarm to waist. So if you could lift your arms up, please. You measure there to the waist. Okay, thank you. And then lift your arm up again, please. And then we're doing the arm's eye or the armhole, depending on what you're used to. That's the circumference of the arm at the shoulder. Now we're doing center back to wrist. Center back to wrist is the center of the back, and then you ask your model to hold their arm up like so, and then bent at the elbow, like that. And then you take it from the center of the back all the way around the elbow to the wrist. And then we go to shoulder to outside elbow, so same position again, and then bent, and down. We do the shoulder to the elbow, and then shoulder to the wrist. And then ask them to hold their arms straight out, like this. And then you do this as armpit to wrist, so you just tuck it in there, and then you measure the wrist. Okay, and you mark that down. Okay, now we're measuring the bicep, so you ask them to flex their bicep. And you take that measurement at the widest point. And then your forearm, so if you flex your arm like this. Okay. And then the wrist, so you just measure around the wrist, quite simple. And then the hand, so go like this, and then you measure around the hand like this. And then fist, so you just ask them to grab the tape measure, and then you measure them. Thank you. So now we're going to do the leg measurements. So could you face that direction, please? So now you're doing waist to knee to floor. You put your arm forward, please. Okay, so the waist to the knee, to the floor, and then what you ask, if the person you're measuring takes a lunge, but for the purpose of this, we're going to have them step up 1 foot onto the chair. And what this will do is this will contract the thigh muscles so that you get the proper measurement. Because if it's just straight, it'll be smaller than and they won't be able to move. So you take the measurement of the thigh. And then have their leg go straight again. And then above the knee, so it's the circumference of the leg above the knee, below the knee, and then at the calf, and at the ankle. And then what you do is you ask, could you face the camera, please? You ask the actor, client, model to hold this where their legs meet each other, and we're going to measure the inseam. So we're going to measure the inseam to the knee, and then to the floor. Okay, thank you. I don't remember what the second measurement was. Sorry. Could you hold it there again? Oh. Pulled it right out of your hand. There we go. Thank you. And then this is for measuring, fitting hats and stuff. So you measure around the hood. Now that measurement is also very important if the actor has braids in their hair, because that can increase the measurement. So if they are planning to get braids before the play, or they have braids now and they aren't for the play, you have to get the measurement twice. Okay, and for dance, the girth, I'm just going to tell you what that is. That's when, because my tape measure won't use that, you need a longer measure, as you go around the shoulder and between the legs, and you do that circumference. That's the girth. And then for tights and for legs, you ask to get the crotch depth, you ask the actor or actress or model or client to take a seat, and then you measure from their waist to their seat. And that's the crotch. So sit up straight, please. Okay. There we go. Oh. Stand up, please. And for that measurement, you use a straight ruler. I don't have one with me, but that's what you use. And then you ask the person you're measuring to hold the tape measure at their belly button. And then you take, actually I'm gonna have you hold this. No, at your waist. Sorry, at your waist. And then you measure it to the waist at the back. So that is, and you can let go, please. And that's how you take measurements for the full body. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And yeah, it's a lot faster if you have somebody measuring and they just say the number out and then somebody else writes it down, because let me show you how that would go. So you do neck, so neck, take it, your neck measurement, and you say it out and lift your arms up, please. And then you say bust, you say the bust, take a deep breath, bust expanded, then under bust, and then waist, and then high hip, and then low hip, and see how much faster that was? Then take it, write it down, take it, write it down. That took like 30 seconds as compared to like a minute and a half or 2 minutes or more. So thank you, and thank you to my mother for being a wonderful person and letting me take her measurements on camera.